there was one question by Akib Khan which said that will online classes be an opportunity to provide good education to children living in remote areas where the quality of teachers is already challenged in these public schools, especially in rural areas? So during the pandemic, the shifting of mode from offline to online, could it be considered an opportunity that can be used in schools? So that is one question.
I think in the very lecture and in the report, the answer is there. The answer is that it is not accessible. See, if you are accessible, then we can debate whether online education benefits or whether. But when if they say 10% of the Indians have access to internet, 90% are excluded. And if when liberal estimation, even in a city like Mumbai, if the less than 50% people have an access, then in Orissa, if the 6% of the people have an access to the internet, how are you going to really benefit? So first question is that if the technology is available, this question can be discussed. But if the technology is not accessible, the question we have to ask is that how to make the technology accessible to all the sections of Indians, and whether that is possible, whether there is a policy towards that, whether the new education policy document doesn't say anything about access to the technology. It doesn't say anything about that. Only those who have an access will benefit, but those who do not have access will be further marginalized. Forget about the quality education. They will be further marginalized. They will be excluded from the educational sector if you depend on this online education.
Further to that, there is an assumption often that government school teachers are of less quality. And I've been working in government school since about more than 30 years now, nearly 30 years. And we find that the best meritorious teachers are the ones that apply for these jobs, primarily because of, the security that comes with that. But at the beginning of the service, they are the best of the best. That is number one. Secondly, is that online education can only suffice instruction to a certain extent. School is not only about content. School is about learning to live with others as well. And there is a lot that children learn from being with each other. There is a lot of pedagogy that is dependent on children interacting with each other, debating, sharing ideas, playing together, art, craft. These are intrinsic to education. So school is both socialization as well as education inherent in it. So online education cannot replace that. And to a certain extent, even if one were to use technology, the advantages of technology, there are very clear frameworks developed by Punya Mishra and others, which are about training teachers to use technology efficiently, properly for teaching of certain subjects, of teaching of certain age groups. Our teachers do not have the capacity building exposure for using this. So unless and until each and every school, each and every teacher has this capacity built, as well as each and every child has access at the cost of the public, we cannot opt this option.
From the Facebook, from Nisha, how are parents reacting to online teaching in government schools? And maybe a related question, your views on the Delhi experiment in public schools.
Nisha's question about parents and online education, they're not same kind of parents in all the BMC schools. They're very, very diverse. There are people who live in slums. I mean, very, very poor people, children who have faced demolitions of their houses at least, once in the little lifetime till like their 8 years or 9 years. There are parents who are slightly better off. So there is a range of parents, and they deal with it in a different way. Some parents that we know who are able have also bought cheap smartphones so that the child can study. But again, the smartphones have to be shared by the children, and more than 50% of the parents are unable to provide access to their children. So there is a range, and several factors are involved in this.
There's one question from Nisha Biswas. She's asked, is there any policy on the schooling of children who've gone back with their migrant parents? It's just
Policy, no, there was there are mechanisms in the act to trace children, and there is a lot of data that the state has on its portal to locate children where they are. But it's quite evident that when we have the pandemic, the state is unable to tell us exactly what happens to which child. All this is available only so that international forums can be satisfied in terms of collection of data and these loans and policies. I mean, the things, programs like STARS. In actuality, one does not see a follow-up of a child that is used to come to school and hasn't come for 2 months, and the child is traced and brought back to school. Huge amount of teachers' energies and in collecting this.
I
Yes,
was
Professor.
reading an episode in one of the countries, I forget, that all the children who become eligible to go to the school itself collects the data, and on the reopening day of the school, they go and pick up the child from every home with the musical instruments and big procession with excitement, and the child gets so excited because he is taken in a big procession as a VIP, and that's how their schooling starts. So I think it all depends, how much committed you are to bring the child to the school, and for that also a neighborhood school is very important. Say that I think is a very important question.
Attendance of children in the Zoom meetings of the schools, I know that if there are 40 children enrolled in the class, there are only 8 to 10 children that are able to actually connect. And the children in ashram schools are, worse off actually. So this is by somebody who works in schools.
okay. Monica Wahi has asked a question. How should the government ensure education for students during this period? Given that the pandemic may continue till next summer and beyond, what are the practical steps that they can take?
We are proposing that given each context, each location, and the prevalence of COVID, government should open schools. That is what we are proposing. I mean, people who are in the education field, who work with schools or are closely connected to school policy, because of several things that the report highlights. And of course, I mean, in high prevalence areas, this is not possible. But so this is what has been, Monica, sorry, this is what has been proposed by many activists in the field. House asked the question, they have proposed alternative learning centers in policy for children, migrant parents. They have proposed alternative learning centers in e-policy, the policy for children of migrant parents. So again, it's going back to, before the RT Act, when all these non-formal education centers were run, and these are simply tuition classes to a certain extent. They deny the rights of children in several ways, and children need 8 hours of schooling according to specific provisions that are universal. They cannot be substituted by, they can be supplementary to a school, but they cannot substitute a school. They should not.